In the Pacific Northwest, our lives are often touched by wildfires during the summer. Lightning storms produce multiple sparks, and the dry summer conditions create the perfect recipe for hazy skies, sometimes unhealthy air quality, and occasionally the need to evacuate our homes. Some of us may have experienced the loss of property, or even loved ones, in fires that couldn't be controlled quickly. It's no wonder that most of us have learned to fear fire and try to suppress it when it starts. But did you know that fire can actually be beneficial to a forest? Healthy forests actually depend on cycles of fire, called fire regimes, to stay healthy. Native plants and animals have developed specialized adaptations to help them survive and even thrive after a wildfire. In fact, fire can return nutrients to the soil, clear clutter, create space, kill pests and diseases, control noxious weeds, and create ideal habitats for animal life. During the years between forest fires, forests typically become overgrown. Non-native plants move in and take up the nutrients from the soil, which becomes hardened and full of clay. The hard ground makes air and water permeation difficult, so it's harder for plants to grow. Trees grow tall and thick at the tops, choking the light out and adding to the difficulty for plants on the forest floors to survive. As nutrients from the soil diminish, many plants die out. This results in less food for animals who also prefer more open spaces. Additionally, it creates a buildup of dry fuel for igniting sparks. When a fire does break out naturally, as with a lightning strike, many of us have images in our head of Bambi-like disaster for the forest animals, but the reality is much different. Like people, animals know the ways out of their homes, and most are able to leave. Some individuals do not make it out in time, but this does not affect the overall population. Low-intensity, slow-moving ground fires actually provide a great opportunity for some predators, like foxes and owls, to forage and hunt. Many will follow the leading edge of the fire, successfully hunting for snakes, mice, or insects. As dead, dry fuel is burned, the nutrients such as potassium, phosphorus, nitrogen, sulfur, calcium, and magnesium that were trapped in the dead and living material is released back into the soil. Heat from the fire also helps to change the hardened clay into sand-like particles that allow air and water to permeate and drain easily. Additionally, when fire clears out a thick overgrowth of underbrush, the water supply is naturally increased. As fewer plants are competing for water, streams and rivers are filled, which has a positive effect on new plant and animal life.
Watching trees go up in flames is traumatic because forests are beautiful and valuable, and it takes a long time to grow a new one. Certainly, wildfire kills many trees and shrubs, and burned areas may show the scars for many years. Some habitats are destroyed and animals have to move. However, many of our native plant and animal species have a remarkable ability to regenerate, and the process begins almost immediately after a fire.
Of course, the regeneration of healthy forests depends on the survival of many plants and trees as well. Unlike animals, these are living things that can't move or skate when fire moves through, so they have adapted in other ways.
If you look closely at ponderosa pine forests almost anywhere, you will see evidence of fire. These scars are caused by ground fires that periodically sweep through this forest, fires that move through so rapidly that they may damage a portion of the tree trunk, but do not generally kill the tree. Mature ponderosa pine have several features that allow them to survive ground fires. One thing is this thick bark that protects the tissues that conduct food and water and accomplish growth in the plant. As they get older, ponderosa pine naturally lose their lower branches, which makes it harder for the fast-moving ground fires to reach the crown. Fire is a natural, recurring aspect of the ecology where ponderosa pines grow. Tree ring data and historical photos such as these from Custer's 1874 expedition indicate that fire was then frequent in the Black Hills. The natural result was a pine savanna, widely spaced trees with grasses and wildflowers on the forest floor. You can see in this photo of the same spot that pine trees have spread to new areas and the trees are more numerous and closer together.
There are two main types of plant adaptations. The first group is sometimes referred to as resistors. They can survive a moderate to low-intensity fires with little to no damage. They often have thick bark like the ponderosa pine that protects the tender green parts inside the tree trunk and deep roots that store nutrition. Many trees, such as the lodgepole pine and Douglas fir, will shed their lower branches as they mature to prevent fire from climbing to the healthy crowns of the trees. Resistors often have moist, soft needles and leaves that are hard to burn. The second type of plant adaptation includes a group known as sprouters.
Lodgepole pine, for example, ensures its continued existence by producing enormous amounts of seed. Seed from trees that are not killed quickly blow into the ash. If even a small percentage of these seeds germinate and live through the seedling stage, there will be thousands of new, healthy lodgepole saplings within a few years.
You may come across pine cones which look like these, with tightly closed scales. These pine cones are known as serotinous cones found on lodgepole pines.
Serotiny is an ecological adaptation employed by plants to handle the effects of wildfire. In Wyoming, lodgepole pine trees produce serotinous cones. Once heated, the cones open up to allow seeds to leave the cone. The wing on each seed is thought to help with travel during wind events.
Usually when a ground fire sweeps across grassland or mountain forest in the western U.S., the non-woody perennial plants survive. The fire's heat doesn't often penetrate more than an inch or so into the soil. The tops may be consumed, but the below-ground parts of the plant are not killed. After the fire, with no dead plant material to insulate it, the sun warms the soil, and nutrients from the ash enter it. If there's any moisture in the ground, the plants usually respond quickly with a flush of growth.
Owing to these natural adaptation effects of fire, new plant growth often appears within a matter of days after a burn. Immediately after fire, animal life begins to return. Hunters and scavengers sometimes come back in just minutes to take advantage of prime opportunities to feed. Some species of insects are attracted by the chemicals in the smoke and look for trees weakened by fire as a source of food. This in turn attracts the predators of those insects, such as birds. Burned out logs actually provide better habitats and abundance for forest animals than many lived trees do, further enticing the return of forest animals. As grasses and small shrubs continue to grow in the newly cleared and nutrition-rich soil, larger animals find prime living space and food sources. Native Americans have been vocal for many years about the need to include fire in healthy agroforestry. These are photos of land the Caribbean tribe of Northern California has been cultivating with healthy fire regimens every 3 to 4 years. They show how fire has eliminated invasive Himalayan berries, and dry fuel on forest floors, open up space to create habitats for elk, wild raspberries and blackberries, created homes and cavities in madrone tree for fishers or wild cats, replenished native medicinal plants, and bear grass used for making baskets, acorns, raspberries, thimbleberries, and vines for tea. The removal of invasive brush overgrowth near streams returns water to the stream beds and improves water quality, benefiting salmon. Fire has been an important part of indigenous life for hundreds of years. As our dominant society learns to become more comfortable with the benefits of fire and healthy forest ecology, we still have an important balance to work out. Some of the quantities people must enjoy in California, the dry, warm temperature and natural beauty, actually create some of the most severe potential wildfire conditions in the world. Droughts in the West are common, further adding to the likelihood of forest fire. As population increases, we have greater percentage of former wildland areas being converted into new communities, further increasing the risk to people. This makes it increasingly difficult to maintain the natural role of fire and protect human lives properly. Right now, when a wildfire starts, fire responders have to ask 2 major questions. First, where is the fire? In a forest or grassland, or in a position to threaten people and property. If the latter, then emergency effects are employed to contain the fire quickly. However, if the threat is relatively low A fire may be monitored and permitted to burn naturally until it goes out by itself or the threat level rises. It seems the biggest challenge for us lies in the blurring of the lines between the natural world around us that depends on fire for survival and our own concern with the dangers of losing lives and property in devastating, high-intensity, fast-moving fires. However, as we learn to keep the forest healthy in the first place, with proper understanding of fire ecology, it is likely that such devastating fires will be reduced in frequency and severity, providing the balance that we seek in preserving the forests that are so crucial to life on this planet.